Right, let's do this. So I watched Smackdown tonight, and just to prove that I watched Smackdown, I wrote notes because I was like, all right. So right off the bat, I'm like, all right. There's one thing that drives me nuts in this show, and it's maybe minor to some, but to me it stands out. Canned laughter, something that I didn't really care about, say, 20, 30 years ago. When I watch old sitcoms and I know it's canned laughter, I know it's not really an audience laughing, it can be distracting. And so I'm not picking on wrestling here. It's something that when a show has a laugh track, it can be distracting. And the booing that they have for Roman Reigns is ridiculous. If we had fans in attendance, I guarantee you right now WWE would be fighting to maintain those boos because he's the badass we always wanted him to be. This is the Roman Reigns we wanted years ago and we didn't get. So the weird thing too is that as soon as he starts talking, the boos fade. So so you have the laugh track where it's kind of distracting because it's, you can tell it's not real. And your brain tells you what you're hearing, that's not real. With this booing that's going on, the fact that it fades and comes back and the cheering fades in and out as well, it's weird. And again, it takes me out of the moment because to me, I'm like, okay, there's no way. There's no way that in this situation fans are reacting that way. And this is where during the pandemic, the WWE has been trying to make sure that the crowd reacts the way they want them to. So this is about piping in the noise they want to bring in, which is not unusual for them. Back when they were trying to get Roman over as this big monster face, which doesn't work, and it never really worked, they would actually turn the crowd noise down for his entrance because the crowd would be booing. And they would pipe in fake noise where and if they could, if it was taped. So this is something that I think, I understand you don't have actual fans in attendance. You have the weird screens thing, which I ignore it. I don't pay attention to the screens thing. It's better than an empty looking arena. I agree with that. But the screens are just weird. It's just a bunch of people sitting there. And the thing that I laugh about is when you hear all this, whoa! And if you do pay attention to the screens, everybody's just, or you might see, it's bizarre. So anyways, Roman's in, and this is a good segment to start the show. Be nice to Kayla Braxton, though, Roman. I know Kayla was asking you tough questions. I know it's all in character. But when somebody's mean to Kayla, all I think is she's really small. She's a very tiny woman. And so you don't like seeing her getting bullied. Which is the whole thing with Roman, right? They're trying to get him over as being kind of a jerk. And then Owens comes out and challenges Reigns to a TLC match. And we're going to have a tag match of Otis and Reigns. Or Otis and Owens against Reigns and Jay. And of course, Jay is the one that accepts. Jay is the one that speaks up, goes, yeah, we accept. We're down. We're going to do that. And then Roman gives him that look. The Roman Reigns character right now is fantastic. It is absolutely perfect. His character, his championship reign has been perfect. And all I can ask as a fan is, where was this years ago? Bayley then came out. She is pure money. Bayley is fantastic. And she's up against Natalya next. Natalya lost last week against the EST who was in NXT. Yeah. So Bianca's out at ringside, and before they get to that, Roman was upset. Jay accepted Owens' challenge. They show that backstage. And then my question was, is Natalya a face or a heel this week? Does it matter? Honestly, and I'm asking that as a question because it feels like every other week, Natalya is one or the other. She's the big show of the women's division. What is she this week? And I will say this, it's probably for the same reason. Big Show, an established wrestler, a veteran, and so you're trying to get other wrestlers over, so he'll fill in wherever he has to. If he has to be a bad guy, he's a bad guy. If he's a good guy, he's a good guy. And I think Natalya, it's kind of become the same thing. That might be the first time she's ever been compared to Big Show. I'm going to go out on a limb and say probably yes. Bayley would end up tapping out. Bianca gloats, and of course you have some weird kind of funky finish. But I was kind of surprised Bayley tapped out to Natalya because Bayley, I think, is the hottest wrestler they have on the women's roster. I'm including Sasha in that. I think Bayley would be a huge heat magnet, again, with crowds there. I think she'd be getting booed quite loudly and regularly. Then they showed a Pat Patterson celebration. They showed a video for him, and of course he passed away this week. So that was a touching tribute. And then they had a matchup between 6 of apparently his favorite wrestlers: Rey Mysterio, Daniel Bryan, and Big E against Dolph Ziggler, Shinsuke Nakamura, and Sami Zayn. And all I could think was, Shinsuke's on. Shinsuke's in a match that feels kind of important, and I will always enjoy a match with Shinsuke Nakamura in it. This is a wrestler who I really had wished they'd put the title on years ago, and they didn't. Daniel Bryan would end up pinning Sami Zayn with, you know what this stands for? Most devastating move in all sports entertainment. Kudos to Simon Miller for that. So, yeah, he wins with a roll-up. I was like, all right, so there's a roll-up. Cool. Another roll-up. And it was too bad, because this was a really good match. But that happens. And then they had an interview between Sasha and Carmella. Okay. It just put him in the ring. I with Carmella, I get what they're trying to do. I don't know how over it's going to be. I get that they're changing her character and the way she's perceived. I don't know how long it's going to last. There have been times in the past where wrestlers try to change their gimmick. Crowd hasn't really eaten it up, and they end up going back to the other gimmick. And it feels to me like Carmella at some point is going to be moonwalking again and giggling and dancing, and at some point it's going to happen. But for now, she's the serious Carmella that doesn't want to do all the dancing and have all the crowds cheering for her. So it happened. It was a thing that happened. Then we get Murphy versus King Corbin, which I didn't know if we were going to get because Rey Mysterio's in this match here. And then Corbin has Cutler and Blake there, so the Forgotten Sons are there with them. And they were wearing hoodies and suits, so they had the suit pants. I'm trying. I can't do it. Hoodies and suits. Okie dokie. All right then. It's a different look. I never thought of taking a plain hoodie and putting on a nice blazer over top and a pair of suit pants. That's great. And of course, the Mysterio family's at ringside because why not? All right, and then it's weird. It's almost as if they saw the criticism from last week and went, you know what, the Mysterios interfering every 10 seconds, they kind of look like the bad guys, don't they? We're kind of making it so people feel bad for Baron Corbin. All right, so in this one, they really didn't get involved at all. And it was actually a pretty good match. I thought Murphy and Corbin, they have good chemistry in the ring. I thought that was a good fight. Then Corbin just does the go get him to Cutler and Blake, and they go and attack the Mysterios. Aaliyah stayed off to the side, and I wondered when this was going to get involved and where Aaliyah was going to be. She's off to the side. And then it ends up being a distraction win, where Murphy goes out to help, and then you end up with Corbin hitting End of Days when Cutler and Blake come through the ring. Murphy comes in, End of Days, and at least it's a win with a finisher. I will say this, I've never been sold on Corbin. His finisher's badass. That's a good finisher. Hoodies and suits. And then you get to the main event. And what always interests me is it's a 2-hour show, and it always feels like you don't get a lot of wrestling. And it always feels like you don't get any kind of resolution from week to week. And I know you're setting up the next pay-per-view. But it just doesn't feel like it goes anywhere. And then sometimes at the pay-per-views, you may not get that resolution either. So it's Jay versus Otis and KO, because clearly the head of the table not happy with Jay. He was late to the match. It leaves Jay to go out there by himself while Owens is yelling, "Get me Roman Reigns." If they do this right, the Roman Reigns versus KO match could be fantastic. Absolutely. Kevin Owens is one of the best wrestlers, I think, in the world right now. I know he's not built like a lot of other wrestlers, but he can go. And he's fantastic. So, about 5 minutes in, Roman Reigns arrives. And he just starts destroying everything. And he's entertaining when he does it. He basically murdered Otis. If you told me right now that Otis isn't coming back, I'd say it makes some sense. Thrown into the steps, having the steps thrown at him and everything. But where I get confused with this, because it seems so random, is that Roman does this, basically murders Otis, nothing happens. Otis is done, though, so now it's Kevin Owens against both Jay and Roman. And then it's a DQ finish. Roman comes in and throws in a guillotine choke on KO. Aren't they supposed to get a 5 count? Tag wrestling, if a guy comes in and interferes to break up a pin, you don't see the referee go, you're disqualified. So as soon as Roman touches KO, it shouldn't be a disqualification, because it's traditional in tag matches that it ends in a schmozzle, or there's schmozzles in the middle of the match. AEW is really bad for that, but it's part of their brand, so all right, I'll give them a bit of a break on that. But as soon as he slaps in the guillotine choke, the referee should have been going 1, 2, 3, 4, and then call for the bell. Instead, he sees the guillotine choke and goes, bell. And I thought, really, you're going to DQ him for that? So it's a DQ finish here. This one's a distraction finish. This one's a roll-up. This one's a distraction finish. And this is something that I've seen discussed on What Culture Wrestling by Simon Miller. And I thought, yeah, this is kind of where the issue comes in, that you can have a clean pin. You can do that, and you can still build up wrestlers coming out of a clean pin. So after the match, there's a concerto. And if you're new to wrestling, that's Edge and Christian used to do it. It's not exactly an Edge and Christian concerto where they would both hit a guy with a chair at the same time, but it was like that, where it's Jay and Roman. And then what I liked in this is then Roman beats the crap out of Jay with the chair. Yeah. And then he goes down to KO, where he's got Jay just beat up right next to KO, and he goes, you see what you make me do to my family? You see what you're doing? Is this what you wanted? You're ruining this family? You want to break up my family? I know Jimmy's recovering from an injury. I can't wait to see how he's going to factor into this. I can't wait to see when Jimmy's ready to wrestle again, how he's going to factor into this. And whether he's going to join with Roman, or if he's going to end up against his brother to try to snap him out of this following Roman thing. How is Jay going to react to being attacked after the match? My guess is he's going to continue to fall in line. And at some point, he'll turn again, and it's going to be huge. This entire SmackDown basically event that they've been having for months now has been all about making Jey Uso a superstar. And they're doing it very, very well. Jey Uso is legit a massive superstar right now. And I'm very happy for him after years of, sometimes they were kind of a joke, the Usos. Sometimes they were an afterthought as well. They'd get repackaged and they'd look good, and then they'd kind of end up being also rans. I'm really glad Jay's getting a singles run. And I hope when Jimmy is good to go again, that doesn't mean that you just throw them back in a tag team and you forget all about it. I don't want to see him get the Kofi Kingston kind of treatment here. But the berating KO was a nice way to end it. And I thought they built nicely the feud between Roman and KO. And I love Kevin Owens. And Roman Reigns right now is absolutely perfect. Absolutely fantastic. So I really enjoyed the show. I did. Let me know what you thought in the comment section below as always. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe if you're browsing your way through. You just happened upon this video. Thank you guys so much for watching, for all your support. I will talk to you again soon.